we are going to explore the early and first level computing science experience and outcomes, and have a wee look at how they can be applied through high quality learning experiences in a range of situations across a range of settings. And I think what you'll find from this session today is you're actually already doing it. You know, a lot of the activities that you may think are more focused towards numeracy and maths may actually be computing science as well. So hopefully after this session, you'll be able to make those links much more easily now. We'll also signpost to some free resources that can be used in school, in nursery, and in the home settings as well. So if you are a childminder joining us this morning, you will be able to use these resources too, and they're outdoor and indoor resources as well. Okay, so just to get started, let's think, what is computing science? What does it mean to you? What is your perceptions of computing science? And there's no wrong answers here, so don't even think about the experiences and outcomes. Just think about, what does it mean to you? Of course, we will look at the definitions and the experiences and outcomes too, and especially what computing science enables us and the children that we're working with to do. So feel free to pop a little comment into the chat box, or you can pop your mic on. Just the first thing you think of when you think of computing science. I'm keeping an eye on my other screen here for the chat. Very quiet this morning. Any coming in? Okay, so let's have a wee look. So the definition about computing science, it's the study of computer hardware and software, and that includes things like robotics, AI, artificial intelligence, gaming. Lots more. We could be here all day exploring computing science. But within computing science, there's a really important key skill, and that's called computational thinking. And this is what we really focus on more with our younger learners, because computational thinking is learning to solve problems with or without a computer. Developing children's computational thinking is essential to, you know, all of the areas of our curriculum in early learning and childcare, primary and beyond, because it can also be applied across everyday life. And we'll begin to see that through the session this morning. It's all about problem solving and creativity, and we know that creativity is vital for learning. It's really important that children have the time, the space and the freedom to play and tinker with open-ended invitations to learn, you know, with no pressure to create a desired outcome. And that's the way that we provide experiences and opportunities for children at early and first level. We're just going to have a quick look at the E's and O's before we move on to the activities now. So early and first level, the first experiences and outcomes in the computing science section are about understanding the world through computing technology. This is all about, where are the computers? You know, where are they in the world round about us, in our local environment, in our homes? And it's all about cause and effect. You know, if I press this, then this happens. It's about understanding order and sequence. So for some of you, you might talk about then and when. Some might be first, then last, and others might talk about now and next. You know, so if you think about when you're talking about, you know, routines and times of the day and things like that, that's all part of understanding the world through computing technology, because, you know, there's things that we need to do to make other things happen. So for example, it might be, you know, something really simple, like the magnetic door that's locked, you know, to come into the building, you know, that we need to scan our card to be able to get in, and that tells us, you know, that there's a computer in there. Okay, and then just moving on to the next experiences and outcomes. This is about understanding and analysing the computing technology. So this one's just early level. There's two experience and outcomes here. So this is about what makes it all work. So it's taking that thinking a step further. So we know where it is, but now what's making it work? What's inside? How is it helping us? So, think of all your pieces of technology that are maybe broken. When I was a practitioner in early learning and childcare, I had more broken BBOTs than I had working BBOTs, and more broken house phones and things like that. But these are great opportunities to flip that learning, turn it around, provide screwdrivers, magnifying glasses. Let's find out then, well, what is inside? And also when we're out and about too, when we're at the supermarket, where is the technology in the supermarket? So they're scanning barcodes at the tills. What could be inside? Or when we're at the library, where is the technology, the doctor's surgery in the world, all around us? And then at first level, we're thinking about experimenting more with our own instructions here. So we've identified where it is. We know that there's computing technology all around us, and we know that there's parts inside that make it work. But what makes it work? And this is when we can start to sort of think about our own instructions. We have lots of role play opportunities here. You could be pretending to be the computer. You take the instruction, and then what do you do? So thinking along the lines of that input output. And it's really taking all the knowledge and skills of that ordering and sequencing that we develop at early level and being able to put that into action. Okay, and then the final experiences and outcomes for early level computing science is looking at designing, building and testing computing solutions. Now, have a wee look at the word that's in bold here on the early level experience and outcome. This is really important, and we're going to come back to this later on. So these experiences and outcomes are about bringing everything together. We're going to create an instruction or an algorithm of our own to make something happen. And there's lots of opportunities here for sustainability learning, real life problem solving, real world problems. What could we create? What could we design? What instruction could we put together, to make something happen, something for good? Does anybody recognise this quote? Maybe particularly those that work with early level learners may recognise this. This is a screen grab from Realising the Ambition. And you'll see here the highlighted words confidence, creativity and curiosity. So it's just reminding us here that, the creativity involved in the everyday problems that we need to solve. And it's creativity is not just arts and crafts, it's how we creatively tackle problems and, having all the time, the space, the freedom to be able to explore, to be able to tinker, to be able to find out what's inside, that's really what's sitting at the heart of it. Now I'm going to introduce one of the resources that we're going to dip in and out of today. This is called Barefoot. So Barefoot are an organisation that provide free support for computing science learning for practitioners at home and in school. Their activities are all mapped to the curriculum, which is a big time saver, isn't it? That's one thing that can certainly help, and it helps you to understand, what the learning is relevant to. And we're going to explore some of their resources today and show you what you can do with the children. And then on Friday morning, we have a specific session with Barefoot, with our volunteer from Barefoot and our special guest presenter who's going to take us right through one of these activities. And that's a create along session. So that's a session where the children are welcome, to join. It's for them as well. So the free resources in Barefoot, they're really good for helping support our understanding of computing science, but in particular computational thinking. And you don't need to have any type of computing resources to be able to provide these experiences. We would call that unplugged computing science. This is their quick reference poster, which I find really useful because it highlights all the concepts and approaches that we use in computational thinking. These are the sort of skills that we need to be able to understand computational thinking. So there's really nothing there that's probably new. Things like algorithms, It's just a series of instructions. I'm going to show you a little picture in a minute that will make you think, absolutely, we do this already. And across on the approaches, tinkering, it's maybe a word that you hear it a lot more now, but that's just really about having that time, space and freedom to find out, to explore, what's inside with no end result. It's just, a really open-ended way to explore. Okay, so one of the activities that we are going to have a wee bash at from the Barefoot materials is exploring algorithms. And that's just going to help us sort of do a wee bit of fear fighting and, just really help us to realise that, yeah, algorithms are something we do in our daily lives and something that the children do in their daily lives, and we do it all the time without even realising it. It's a set of instructions or rules that make something happen. Now, one of the activities from Barefoot is called the Crazy Character activity, and you can do this with pen and paper. You can do it with paint, you could do it with loose parts, you could do it mark making and mud, sand, transient art materials, whatever it is you have access to. And we're all going to follow the same instruction to make this crazy character. And then we're going to go back and do what's called debugging. We're going to go back and look at our algorithm, to make sure, was it right? Did we have everything in the right order, or what could we do better? And we're going to be able to then see what an algorithm is. We'll be able to use one and improve one. And, why not encourage the children to be able to say this too? Because I know that the 3 and 4-year-olds that I used to work with, they could say metamorphosis. They could, and they were very proud to be able to, explain what metamorphosis was. So why not introduce the key language around computing science at the same time? Okay, so if you do have a pen and paper to hand, or, whatever it is you've got, it could even be Play-Doh, whatever sort of material that you have that you can make something with, we'll give this a try, just to let you see how simple the activities are and how it makes, all those concepts and approaches sort of make sense. The first part of this activity is for everybody to draw a triangle body. Okay, that's all the instruction says, draw a triangle body. I'm going to do this alongside you as well, even although I know what the answer is going to be, I'll do it with you just to show the difference. So I've drawn a triangle body. And then we've got to add 3 eyes to this triangle body. I've added my 3 eyes. And then it would like us to add 3 wings. Okay, I've added my 3 wings. And then 3 legs. And then a tail. Okay, now, if you wouldn't mind, pop your camera on and share your crazy character algorithm, and we'll see what yours looks like. This is what mine looks like. Oh, going the wrong way. Does anyone's look exactly the same as mine? Feel free to pop any comments into the comments box as well. And I'm going to explain to you why they don't look exactly the same. So what could we do? What could we have done to improve that algorithm? What could we have done there so that all our characters look the exact same? Because I'm sure they might have been similar, but I don't think they would have been, carbon copies. I don't think they would have been exactly the same. Some comments coming in here on the chat now. Oh, no worries, don't worry about that. So we're going to do something now which is called debugging. So we're going to go back and we're going to look at our algorithm and think, what could we have improved? What could we have done differently so that we all ended up with the exact same end point? Does anyone have any ideas? Could it have been more specific? Could it have been more precise? So instead of saying, 3 eyes, could we have been more precise and said where to put the 3 eyes? Or could we have said, where to start the triangle body? What way was the triangle going to be sat? So yeah, we could have absolutely made it much more precise, because an algorithm should be that precise that any two people or computers can follow it and produce the same result, so the exact same result. Okay, so that's how one way that we can use the Barefoot resources to explore algorithms, or to introduce and explore algorithms with the children. Okay, so on to the practical examples that we'll really be able to relate now. So where do you recognise algorithms? Where do you see these processes or series of instructions that we follow to reach a given end point? Any thoughts, any ideas? It might be in your home, it could be when you're preparing a meal, it could be during times of transition, it could be when you're getting yourself ready to go somewhere. Let's have a wee look. Okay, so these pictures should be quite familiar to you, I would imagine. These are all our routines, sequences of events that we use, daily. So we've got a little boy here sitting in the bucket with the pegs, and he's making a pattern with the pegs. We've got the recipes that we follow, the series of instructions for things like making Play-Doh or making a sandwich. And when you're doing this with the children, we're talking about the order that we need to use, the bread, maybe the cheese, the ham, the cucumber, whatever it is you're doing. But have you ever tried mixing it up? I know we all quite often turn the storybook upside down, or, read it back to front, and then the children all come in and tell you, it's upside down, you're going the wrong way. But do we do this with instructions and series of events as well? So it could be, that you put the butter on the plate, and then you've put your cheese under the plate, or something, something like that. Are they able to identify that it's in the wrong order? Or when you're getting ready to go outside, do you maybe put your wellies on first before you pull up your waterproof trousers? Are the children then able to identify it's in the wrong order? You've got to do this first, to be able to get to that end point. And then there's just some more examples there on the screen. Story sequencing, sort of visual timetables, social stories, when we're retelling stories, so when we're using props, it might be like the visuals in the top picture there, or it might be story spoons or story stones. These are all things that we can use to create algorithms or sequences of events. Now, there's another activity. I'm just going to talk you through this one for time, but we're not going to do this one right now. This is one that you could use. Again, it can be really open-ended. You could use Play-Doh, like the example that we have here, or again, it could be drawing. It could be mark making. It could be with your loose parts. But this activity is called Guess What, and it's all about abstraction. So this is helping us to make those algorithms more precise, because we're thinking about what is the most important information that we want in our algorithms. Okay, and abstraction helps us to sort of pick that apart a wee bit. It helps us to think about what information is essential to include and what we can ignore, what's not going to really affect or impact our algorithm. It's about sort of managing complexity, and it's being able to pull out the sort of very key, really important instructions that we will need to make this algorithm more precise. So in this example, they are using Play-Doh, but like I said, you can use absolutely anything. Drawing, construction, it could even be, you could even try shadow puppets, things like that. So we think of an animal, okay, now no worms or snakes because that would be too easy. And then you know your learners best, so you would know, what time would be appropriate for them. So when I do this with practitioners, I set the timer for 30 seconds and I ask them to model an animal. And when the 30 seconds stops, they pop their camera on, they show me the animal, and then we've all got to guess what it is. And then we do it again, but we, turn the heat up this time a wee bit more and more pressure, and we shorten the time. So then you're really thinking, right, what are the key parts here? What is it that I need to be able to show that's going to help people understand what my animal is? What should I not be bothering about? How can I do this in the fastest way? What's the most efficient way to be able to do this? So that's the abstraction activity, and it's really good fun, especially if you're using a big timer and it's ticking and you're all going really fast trying to make your models. So that activity is all about abstraction. So working out what's important and ignoring what is not so important. And then you can imagine that can be transferred, across so many other areas of learning, like when they are making instructions, say it's, I don't know, well, just off the top of my head, you're doing a baking activity, or, you're making a pizza or something, and you want the other children to be able to follow the same instruction. So it's, that really key skill of working out what's important and what's not as important, what's additional detail that, yes, it's nice to know, but we don't really need it to be able to follow the instruction. Okay, so now I've got a little challenge for you. So we're going to have a go at this, getting this logical reasoning and problem solving going in our own brains, and we're going to create an algorithm of our own. So I'm going to show you an image up on screen, a map, and we're going to create our own series of instructions or our own algorithm to get from one point to another point. So just think about the last two activities there and the key points. Would another person be able to follow your exact algorithm to reach the same end point? And we're going to try and make it short and precise, but there's a few curveballs thrown in here. So there's a few places on the map that you can't go, because that would make it too easy. And just again to remember that the early level design and building and testing computing solutions experience and outcome talks about programmable devices or equivalent. So you do not need a Bebot or any kind of computing resources, programmable toys to be able to explore these experiences. So you're going to develop a sequence of instructions of your own, and you're going to run them using the image that I'm going to show you on screen. And what might help you is to jot down your algorithm. So what I normally do is I use arrows. Okay, so this is the map, and there's a wee story that goes alongside it. And this is just to sort of give you some insight to the activities that you can do with the children without any resources at all. You wouldn't maybe make it as complicated as this for early and first level learners. I've made it a wee bit more challenging because it is a practitioner activity. Okay, so the story behind this is you're at Troon train station, and you're going to travel to Prestwick Aerospace site because you've got a job interview, and that's what's over here in this bright green shaded area. Okay, so you've arrived at this train station because the other train stations closer have been flooded. Okay, so they're closed, they've got flooding damage and they're closed for repairs. But now you've got here a wee bit early, so you're going to go down, you're going to nip to the Asda and go to the cafe and have a cup of tea and read over your interview notes. What's the quickest way that you can get from here to here via here? This is the Asda Air Superstore here. Okay, you can only move forwards or backwards, but you can turn left or right. You can't swim, so you can't go in the sea. So what I would like you to do just in the next couple of minutes is just jot down the direction or the instruction, the route that you would take, and just as a wee helpful piece of information. So here up at the train station, you're facing south, okay? So you're already facing down the way on the map. So we're kind of going to move a wee bit like a bee-bot here. So if you are familiar with bee-bots, they can move forward and they can move backwards. They can left turn, but they'll stay in the same square. They won't move. They can right turn, but they'll stay in the same space, okay? So how many arrows, how many moves do you think you would need to make to get to your interview site at the aerospace at Prestwick via the supermarket and Asda, avoiding the sea? Okay, so I'll just start a wee timer just now. Will we say 2 minutes? Do you think that would be a fair time? And then we'll show the route or the algorithm that I created to get there, and we'll see if anybody managed to, make it quicker, better, more precise, and get there in less moves than I did. Okay, so 2 minutes starting now. So it's just down to the last 30 seconds. Lots of numeracy and maths learning going on here again. We're counting, we're ordering, we're thinking about, shape and position as well. And then to be able to get this all down on paper, we're creating text. So in relation to your literacy and English curriculum, you're telling a story. It may be through arrows, through the mark making of arrows, but you are telling a story. Okay, that's your time up. Okay, how did you get on? Does anybody want to share or pop in the chat? How many moves, how many times did you have to move to get to the aerospace site? I'll show you what I got, okay? So I managed in 16 moves. So if that was a bee-bot, I would have pressed 16 different, the button 16 times. I would have first pressed turn left, forward, forward again. Then I would turn right, then I would go forward 6 times, then I would turn left, then I would go forward twice, and then I would turn right. Is that right? Right, yep. And I'd go forward 1, 2, 3 times to get there. And you might have noticed me moving my shoulders because I have to almost, visualise that I'm on that map to be able to do that. So did that seem like what anybody else got, or did anybody manage to get there in less moves? Did anybody manage to make it more precise? That's just a sort of idea that you could be doing with the children, obviously on a much simpler scale. You might already have, car mats, things like that. If you put a big, like a piece of Perspex table cover or a plastic shower screen, some sort of polythene, maybe a big laminating pouch joined together over the top of something you've already got. And if you mark out a grid on it, and it might be, a big grid that their feet can fit in to sort of get the understanding of executing an algorithm. So, you be the bee-bot or you be the robot, and you can follow that instruction to get from the starting point to the end point. I'm sure you'll have recognised many of the concepts and approaches in these activities, but maybe didn't use the same names that are on the posters. So this is just a wee slide just highlighting that things that we're doing already. So for example, debugging, you might have thought, oh, that's not something that I'm familiar with, but really it's just about finding problems, problem solving, and fixing them. Tinkering, again, that might be a fairly new word to you, but that's really just about providing the time, the space, the freedom to be able to play, explore, investigate, discover, understand, and so on. So I wonder, did anybody spot the numeracy and mathematical concepts in that last activity? Realising the ambition reminds us that numeracy and maths learning can be found in all aspects of the curriculum and all areas of your settings indoor and out, as can computational thinking, which I hope you can now recognise. Realising the ambition reminds us that children are curious about their environments, the environments that surround them, even before they're born. They want to know how things work. That's really innate to them, and they can use problem solving skills from an early age. They constantly want to explore cause and effect through their play. So numeracy, it's far more than just about counting and numbers. It's developing that number sense, which is encouraging creativity of thought and allowing children to interact with the world around them. This quote up on the screen here is from page 75, and it also goes on to add, however, numeracy is not only about developing these skills, it's also about having the ability to apply these concepts in all areas of life. Therefore, numeracy should be embedded throughout the curriculum and the environment and should not just simply be seen as an area of its own. So just like with the technologies, with computing science, there's so much crossover, they intertwine, and it's skills and concepts, that we need to get through our everyday lives. Another quick example of what can be found in the Barefoot learning materials, the image on the left here is from their awesome Autumn Leaf Labyrinth activity plan. The links will be shared with you at the end, but you can sign up for an account free of charge, and you can access all these wonderful resources, and they all come along with practitioner notes as well, which just really help, to save you so much time. And an example of what that could look like, or what the activity you just had a wee bash at could look like. The image on the right here, we didn't have any sort of fancy grids or any mats. It was just simply pieces of paper, and that then became our grid. So we've got a dog teddy bear here, and we've got a mouse teddy bear here. The mouse had to get from point A to point B, but the mouse had to avoid the dog because the dog didn't like the mouse. So what path, what was the instruction, what algorithm would you create to get the mouse to safety? And then depending on the level of the learners you're working with, if they need a wee bit more challenge, you could add more pieces of paper and make the grid bigger. Or if you can see, if you look closely, there's some pieces of tin foil here stuck onto the paper. Those were icy puddles, and the mouse wanted to avoid the icy puddles in case the mouse fell through the ice. Okay, so the children, if you've got groups of children, somebody could be, they could be working together to create that path. Then you could have somebody else, running the instruction, being the mouse and walking through there. So I don't know if you can see in the background there, but there's a wee whiteboard, and there's some visuals, some printed out arrow cards. So that's really important for early and first level learners, so that they can see, they can visualise, because without it just all becomes a bit too abstract. And then when they're debugging, if something went wrong, they can see exactly what part of their instruction wasn't right, and then they can fix it without having to start again from the beginning. Now, we're out of time, but the links are on the slides, and the slides will be sent to you to have a wee look at some other free resources for early level computing science and first level computing science. Code.org, that's a really nice one that you follow the instructions, a bit like what we just looked at there. There's a little squirrel, the squirrel needs to get to the nut, and it's learning about dragging and dropping blocks over, and it has an audio description as well, so perfect for pre-readers. There's a free Bebot app, currently an app for Apple devices. There's a similar one for Android, but I've not yet tested that one yet, and I don't think it's officially the Bebot app. But that's a really good one again, just for the activity that you just done there with me with the Prestwick Aerospace site, very similar to that, and you've got lots of different nice backgrounds and places that you can go to get Bebot from A to B, and then it gets harder and harder with each level. And then Scratch Junior, we have a session with our wonderful colleagues over in Boston from Scratch Junior on Thursday morning, and Thursday afternoon, sorry, it's an afternoon session because of the time difference. And what they're going to do is they're going to walk us through the Scratch Junior app. So that's a create along for children, and this is the one where we're focusing on that creating text. So we're using all the skills from the numeracy and maths curriculum as well, but what our aim is to be able to create a little animation using this app to tell a story, a wee short story. So we're focusing on creating text with that one. And all our sessions can be found and all our resources can be found using this link here. I'm going to leave you with a lovely video to end our session. This is just really recapping everything that we've said. How are we ensuring children are growing up to be creative thinkers and problem solvers? And it's about us, our role, providing them with those opportunities and the time and space to explore and experiment, which is captured beautifully in this video. So I will play it just at the end if anybody has some time to stay on for it, but if not, please do feel free to leave, and it's in the slide notes, the link's in the slide notes, so you'll be able to watch it at a later time. So after the session, later on this afternoon, I'll send a follow-up email with a link to the slides and also a link to the evaluation, and we would really, really appreciate if you could complete that for us, because that will help shape our next sessions. So I hope you enjoyed the session this morning. I hope that's all much clearer now that actually computing science is going on all the time. We maybe just didn't realise that we were doing it. And hopefully I'll see you at future sessions.
Imagine the awesomest thing you can, like an automatic grilled cheese maker, or a time machine with an automatic grilled cheese maker. Now imagine who's going to invent it. Him? Glasses here? Whoever they are? Or maybe her? But how do kids like these become the types of people that do things like this? Maybe we should ask this guy.
Knowledge is heavy. Sometimes it's a limit to have new ideas. That's the problem with the old schooling, because they were teaching answers. I believe questions are probably more important today than the answers.
Erno's cube is a question waiting to be answered. And when the right person finds the right question, something amazing happens. They start seeing the world as it truly is. Not a place to be memorized, but a place to be figured out, flipped, turned, twisted, and ultimately made better forever. Today, she may be an octopus, but help kids like her fall in love with problem solving, and they will embark on journeys to become scientists, artists, engineers, designers, inventors, or something no one's ever been before, but you can bet we're gonna need. That's why moments like this, go, and this, and this, and especially this, are so important. Because there are companies to found, planets to walk on, time machines to invent, a future to be made amazing. We may not know what it's going to look like, but we know who's going to do it.